Everyone. It is late, and I'm sorry we're starting this so late, but we kind of got behind in Salida. But anyways, good evening, everyone.
We made it.
Day 4 is over of Barry Morphew's preliminary hearing. We wanted to dedicate this video to Gabby Harrison.
Whoop, whoop.
Because she gave up her spot in the courtroom so that I could get a seat, and so we just wanted to give her a shout out. What else did we want to talk about as people get on? Tell us. We're driving back from Salida. We used about an hour and a half, so hopefully if this stream kind of goes down or in and out of service, it's just because we're driving. I'm not driving, obviously, but Sarah's driving.
Hello.
So tell us where you guys are watching from. I have it plugged in. I probably should.
You probably have plugged in.
Yeah. I'm gonna move this over here. Washington State, woohoo! So I tried to give a little bit of a heads up before we went on this live, but of course when we were in and out of service, it didn't go through, and then when it did go through, we were closer to doing this, so we did get our McFlurries.
They were delicious.
Okay, wow, Oregon, Texas, Arizona, Alabama. Wow, that's awesome. Vermont, Australia, that's so cool. Canada. Okay, so what else did we want to talk about really quickly? There was like 3 things in the beginning.
A fun experience in the courtroom. Outside the courtroom.
Yeah, but we won't get into that. We just wanted to give a shout out to Gabby Harrison because she helped me get into the courtroom today.
This is true.
So, and then also like right after the court hearing ended around like what, 3 o'clock today?
Yeah.
We had some weird, do you want to talk about that real quick? Like an inmate comes out of the district courtroom
Where we were just at.
For Barry Morphew's hearing. And I didn't know who it was that said, "Hey, Lauren." And she was sitting, she didn't see the door. So when they walked past,
I was sitting on the bench looking at my phone and just saw somebody in a red or an orange and white striped jumpsuit
in
start
handcuffs
walking out of the courtroom that we were just in with Barry. And I looked up thinking it was him, and it was some other inmate in handcuffs, and he goes, "You guys are YouTube famous." And I was like, what just happened?
Yeah.
Who is he and how does he know us?
That was really interesting. Okay.
He was also very close to me. I was like, "You're an inmate. Bubble."
Okay, let's talk about what happened today in court. Obviously, if you were following my tweets, a lot happened. The judge could not make a decision. So there's going to be another hearing on September 17th at 1:30, which is a Friday.
It's a hearing, not the trial.
Yeah, it's a hearing. And
that's what we were going to talk about.
Oh, yeah. If you ever, side note, if you looked at our website, Fox 21 News, there was some misinformation that was not put on our website by us. It was someone else. And we just wanted to let everyone know that has been fixed on our website. There was some court terminology that was incorrect, but that has been fixed. Anyway, so yeah, the judge decided let's go ahead and have another hearing set for September 17th. And when this was told to Barry Morphew as well as Barry Morphew's family, this was major. I mean, Barry Morphew immediately laid down on the desk. His whole body was over the desk, and he looked defeated. And then, his mother started crying in the courtroom. The daughters at the time were not in the courtroom yet when Drew Nelson, went over there and told the family. And The defense called 2 witnesses to the stand today, one of which was a deputy with the Chaffee County Sheriff's Office who discovered the dart cap in the dryer. And they showed body cam video of that incident, and it was found on May 19th, and he was in charge of swabbing for DNA in the dryer. There had already been someone previously taking photos and didn't come across this cap to the tranquilizer needle. And when he went to swab, he obviously was like, hey guys, you need to come back and look at this, you know, and he immediately alerted deputies about it. I mean, what was, oh, well, you didn't get to see that video, did you?
I didn't see the video.
Sarah wasn't in the courtroom for that. And so, you know, obviously there was a significant, or the defense was pointing out there was a clinking noise when he discovered this tranquilizer needle cap. And, you know, they wanted to know, did he place it in there? Or what was that noise, you know? And he said, I had picked it up and put it back down. And then they said, well, that wasn't put in your report. And so he was like, yeah, I failed to do that. And then he also, there was body cam video of him in the garage talking to other deputies saying, you know, this is weird that this tranquilizer gun, it's like you can't load it properly, or it's not functional. And he said it obviously hadn't been used in a long time as well. Someone says, oh, that's a funny comment. Hold on. Someone says, Miss Doodle Detective? I don't know what that is. I thought it was McFlurry Detective or something. Anyway, what else? What did you think? What are some takeaways from today?
I know that one of the big things that the defense talked about was the 3 DNA samples that were found in Suzanne's car on her glove box. All 3 of them matched 3 different sexual assault cases from 3 different cities. And I thought that was really interesting. But I thought it was even more interesting because the witness that they called to talk about those hadn't seen any of it because he was gone on military leave, and they just kept trying to question him, and he just kept reiterating, I haven't seen any of this, I don't know anything about it. But I just thought that was really interesting that was something they focused on. And in my opinion,
this is CBI agent Joseph Cahill is who she's talking about.
In my opinion, I personally, like, that didn't stick out to me as, oh, Suzanne had 3 guys that were part of sexual assault cases in her car at some point. I was more so thinking she might have taken it to a mechanic shop or something, and one of the guys there, like, you take your car other places and people, you know, touch it when they're fixing the car or cleaning it or doing whatever, repairing things. And they were also only partial prints. It wasn't like a full-on, you know, thumb fingerprint or something like that. So I just thought that was really interesting that the defense focused on that so much, kind of implying...
Well, I think the defense was trying to suggest that they didn't do a good enough job following those leads as far as looking into those 3 partial DNA hits or matches. And they were all from out of state. There was 2 in Arizona and 1 in Chicago, Illinois. But they didn't tell us kind of when those, like, sexual assaults had occurred.
I only know the one was in 2004, and that was the one in Tempe, Arizona, because that was the one she focused on the most at the beginning. And then once Irene realized that, you know, Cahill didn't really know anything about a lot of these, she didn't really focus on the other 2 as heavily. Mm-hmm. So Tempe was the one that they focused on the most.
Yeah, they did focus on that a lot. Let me go through. I have my notes on my lap real quick. If you missed my story tonight, go to Fox 21 News right now. I did interviews with the district attorneys, like all of the attorneys, excuse me, that questioned the witnesses. The district attorney, Linda Stanley, Deputy District Attorney Jeff Lindsay. I also interviewed Deputy District Attorney Aaron Pimbleton and Deputy District Attorney Mark Holbert. And these are the people who are questioning the witnesses for the state. And I interviewed them like an hour after they had, that the judge had decided that he needed more time. So that story is on fox21news.com. You can see that story there. Okay, going to my... Okay, sorry, we're back. Frozen. So we're talking about Agent Grusing and how he was... Some interviews with Barry Morphew, one of which was talking to him about evidence that was found, and Barry had mentioned something like, if there's any evidence that ties me to this, it wasn't, it's not going to make me look good. What else did he say?
He didn't care about any of the evidence, because, yeah, as long as anything was tied to him, it would make him look bad.
Oh, he did speak with Agent Grusing. They were asking him about the affair, if he knew about the affair that Suzanne had. And, Agent Grusing also asked if he had told his daughters yet. And, Barry Morphew allegedly told Agent Grusing, yeah, I need to tell them, and I'm going to tell them, because it took him, he said it took him a while to get over the anger, but he said, we are all sinners. I got on my knees and I forgave her. I still love her. And
he said he didn't want the girls to find out from someone else, that he wanted to be the one that told them, so that there wasn't any miscommunication or anything of that sort.
He said to the girls, Suzanne was a good mother. Her sin was no worse than any sin. And when this was said in the courtroom, it really, the girls got emotional. I saw one of the girls like wipe both of her eyes. I hope the service is okay right now. Ooh, I hope I don't get car sick either. Okay. They also called... Okay, so you talked briefly about Joseph Cahill. He was on military leave from March 8th through May 10th. And so questions that the defense was asking him, there were many questions that he didn't know or needed to look in, like, reports. But they were trying to ask him a lot of questions about the DNA on the glove box, the handlebars of the bike, trying to say that it, it didn't include Barry Morphew's DNA. Is that right? Yeah. Excluded his DNA, I guess.
Yeah.
Okay, this is a good question. How and when did he tell the girls? We don't know exactly what day he told the girls about the affair. We just know in an interview that Agent Grusing had with Barry Morphew, it was in April, and he just said he was going to tell the girls, but we don't know exactly when that was. Okay. There was a lot of talk about CODIS and how DNA gets hit with CODIS and whose whose DNA is on the CODIS list, and what does match mean. And it sounded like that, you know, obviously when there's a crime scene, they take DNA swabs and things like that, and then that gets checked into this CODIS database, and that database is felony, you know, people with felonies, and what else we can talk about. I'm kind of gonna jump around, but hours, more than 20 hours of testimony. And when we interviewed, it was the Deputy District Attorney Jeff Lindsay. Like, my average was probably like 25, and that's not even including all my tweets. So, but again, you know, today we learn from what was her name? Eaton. Yeah, we learned from Eaton that Patrick Murphy is the one that read and signed off on the arrest affidavit. So he's already seen the arrest affidavit, looked over it probably multiple times, so that, I mean, so he didn't need to take that many notes, is what I'm trying to say. But Drew with the judge trying to say, you know, that she was trying to say that Barry Morphew doesn't have to sit in the jail cell, trying to get him to make a decision today. She was saying that the proof is evidence and presumption is great, and that they don't think that the state has met the burden of that. But again, the judge was like, I need time to review all of this, all of my notes, you know. So he set the date for the next hearing to decide on September 17th. And this is when both sides will get to have arguments. And I asked the state, I asked them, like, how long could those arguments be for each side, and they didn't know. Then also, this September 17th, the judge is also going to make a decision on if he's going to unseal the arrest affidavit. It's back, I think. Oh my goodness, I'm so sorry, people.
Welcome back, everybody.
Please give us a thumbs up if you can see us again.
Blink twice.
Like 500 people just were like, this is terrible.
We're a work in progress, everybody.
Well, I think the comments are frozen, but it says that, what is it?
There was a little friend on the side of the road. I'm not going to say it out loud because it's bad luck.
Like a deer?
Okay, or just say it anyway. You got to spell it.
Oh, I thought you meant a hitchhiker, because we saw one of those,
and he looked a little scary.
Okay, now more people are getting on, so maybe people can see us again. Sorry, guys. This is, you know, YouTube struggle part 3 of volume 10.
3 of 100.
Okay, so we were talking about the state presented some evidence, one of which was that Barry Morphew allegedly told Jean Ritter, the neighbor, to look specifically for Suzanne's bike. And then that's what Jean Ritter told law enforcement. And that was something that was made known today. They also talked about how Barry Morphew also tracked Suzanne's phone, because previous days they had talked about Suzanne tracking Barry Morphew's phone.
Yeah.
But you wanted to say a little bit about that too.
Well, I thought that was interesting because the way that they described Suzanne monitoring and kind of watching Barry's activity in his phone was very different. You know, she bought a spy pen and all these other things. And when they talked about Barry monitoring Suzanne's phone, they really only brought up one instance where I guess she was talking to somebody on Snapchat and Barry asked to see her phone to see who she was talking to. And that was pretty much it. So I wouldn't really constitute that as monitoring her phone, just kind of curiosity at that moment as to who she was talking to.
Another brief mention in the room today was that Barry Morphew had and it was like it wasn't like he grabbed her and then, or physically punched her or anything like that. It was like he had clipped her nose with his side of his hand or something like that. But again, this is before she went missing. And what else?
We don't know the exact date of when that happened either. They didn't give a specific.
The timing, they didn't give a lot of times of when, like, interviews, like things mentioned in interviews were these last 2 days. I felt like the previous 2 days they were very much adamant about what time things were said and when exactly, what time of the day and things like that. So I'm sorry that our service was really spotty there for a while.
Sorry if the car gets loud too. This road's a little bumpy.
Oh, they did mention about how much Barry Morphew had searched for Suzanne. He told investigators he searched for 3 to 5 months, and when he was asked, you know, when would be a good time to stop searching for her, Barry Morphew said never. He also told investigators that him and George Davis had searched for 200 miles.
200 square miles.
200 square miles for Suzanne. And they didn't say locations, though, like where they searched in and around the home. Like, they went X amount of miles to a certain location, or, you know, they didn't talk about that. Or they didn't even show maps of where they searched either. And I have tried to talk with George Davis about specifics of where they searched, when they searched, things like that, and he never told me. George Davis, people have asked if he was in the courtroom. He was not in the courtroom. There was a lot more people today at the courthouse, for sure. They had to turn away a lot of people to the fairgrounds. And they are going to try to also have the fairgrounds for the September 17th hearing. So if you're in Chaffee County and you want to know, you know, what the judge will rule, then, you know, come to either the fairgrounds or try to get to the courthouse early for that hearing on September 17th at 1:30. I hope you guys can hear me. If you need me to talk louder, let me know in the comments, please. People are asking if the nephew was there in the courtroom that set up the GoFundMe. Trevor Knoll was not in the courtroom. People are saying they can hear me. Okay, great. It is really loud on this road. People are asking if I think George Davis is still supporting Barry Morphew. I do not know. I haven't spoken to George Davis in months, so I don't know. Ooh, let's talk about when Barry Morphew got arrested and what Agent Grusing had said. They had said in the back of the cop car, I guess you could call it, when they took him to jail. Barry Morphew, I guess, said something like, "I trusted you. What's going to happen to my daughter?" Right? Or what did he say?
He said, "I trusted you. How could you do this to me?" But then he also said, you know, who's going to look after my daughter when I get locked up? Yeah, who's going to look up to? Yeah. And I think he also asked what his charges were, or I think so, yeah. And that's when Grusing told him that it was for murder.
Yeah. I'm trying to look at. People are asking if any of the Mormons were in the courtroom. There were no Mormons in the courtroom. I believe they were watching on WebEx. Okay, I'm gonna look at questions. Oh, people are asking if the judge knows Barry. I have not. Do you have that text message that I sent you? Is your phone nearby?
Yeah.
Let me, I did get some information from someone that I think is interesting, and I want to look more into this. Let me pull it up. Hold on. So there was a lot of talk about the tranquilizer dart, the tranquilizer gun, things like that, and what Barry Morphew used it for. Like, he claimed that when he used it in Colorado, it was for, like, tranquilizing a deer to cut off their antlers and then let it go free, and keeping the antlers. And then he said he had the tranquilizer gun and darts because he used to have a deer farm in Indiana, and he used it in Indiana to, like, tranquilize the deer to give them medicine. But I found out today, and I'm gonna want to look more into this, about I guess, and a lot of, there was some talk about this in the courthouse about if it was even legal to do this, to cut off antlers off of a live animal in Colorado. And I'm trying to do so much right now. They talked about how tranquilizer guns in Colorado aren't really used unless they are a fish and game officer. And then they told me that it's illegal to cut off deer antlers and let them go, as, like, saying that they're, like, officers would claim that it would be fish and game officer about this, but this is something someone mentioned to me. I'm not into hunting. I mean, my dad does it a lot. I have family members that do it and stuff like that. I mean, my dad goes, like, every year hunting if he can, but I've never done it. So I think this would be something to look into for sure. Oh, someone's asking, did he really say Suzanne bought street drugs? Yeah, that was mentioned in the courtroom. Was it yesterday?
I believe so, yeah. He often said that she abused alcohol and drugs, and there was somebody named...
Notes to look at.
I can't look at everything.
I wanted to bring up the part about Johnny Grusing asking Barry Morphew if he was carrying any guilt. Do you remember that part?
Yep.
And how he said only taking Suzanne for granted, and putting more effort into making money and hunting.
Yep.
He said also that I loved her with all my heart. And this is to Johnny Grusing. We keep getting a ton of viewers, and then as soon as we, like, hit no service, we lose everyone. So this video is going to be interesting. Yeah, we should have service for the rest of the way, right?
For the most part, yeah.
Hopefully. We're getting close.
Fingers crossed.
I don't know what I was trying to say before it went dead. Hold on, I need to bring up the live comments. Oh, there it goes. Yeah, so people are asking if the photo or if it was day was odd. Yeah, so the prosecutors say the last proof of life was for sure at 2:03 from this sunbathing photo because of the was it data from Suzanne's phone?
Probably. Either way, if she
it was
like
like
an
her
iPhone, it'll show where you take pictures.
Yeah.
If you have that set.
Give us a thumbs up if we're back and everyone can see us.
Let's not shit for supper.
We are wearing seatbelts. People are asking if we're wearing seatbelts. We are wearing seatbelts. It's just dark.
It's right here. It's over here.
Someone's asking if Macy's boyfriend was there. He was not. 2:11 p.m. is when the last message was sent, and it was about, you know, she had sent a message to Jeff Libler saying, "Can you get on?" It was very much known in the courtroom that Barry Morphew was the last person to see Suzanne alive.
Yeah,
that was major because, and they also presented a lot of evidence about, you know, if Suzanne was still alive, she would need to use money, you know, get medical treatment for her, you know, maintenance for cancer and things like that. And she needed her medical card, and that she had not been using her phone, no communication with anyone since May 9th.
Which is why I don't think the theory of her running off to go to Ecuador with her lover fits, because the way that she described daughters, I imagine her just leaving them, regardless of how hard her marriage was with Barry. I just would just leave her daughters in the dust and not communicate with them ever again.
Yeah, so people are asking, what was the demeanor like today versus the first day?
That's more you, because I wasn't in there.
The first day, I felt like Barry Morphew sat like more relaxed, and obviously he was paying attention the whole time, but today he was sitting more up in his chair. His eyebrows were raised most of the time, and then at the end of the day, when the judge decided, hey, I need more time to make a decision, it was like defeat to him. And
even his demeanor walking out of the courtroom at the end, like, he didn't turn around to look at anybody in his family. He didn't really even show any emotion to his attorneys or anything. He just kind of got up, grabbed his glasses, and walked away. But yeah, on his face, it definitely looked like that was not the outcome he was expecting.
Yeah, one of his sisters even stood in the middle of the aisle kind of wanting to, I don't know exactly what she was wanting to do, but he didn't even acknowledge that.
He didn't even turn around to look at anybody.
The daughters at the time were not in the courtroom. I don't know if they got back late or didn't. I don't know. I think they did eventually come back to the courthouse to kind of figure out what happened, to hear from the victim's advocate, and then also to hear from, you know, Barry's mother and sister and things like that. Someone is asking, when was Suzanne last physically seen? In public? I think investigators didn't say this person saw Suzanne publicly. They just mentioned Moonlight Pizza that Friday, and that Suzanne had supposedly taken a photo of Barry waiting in line to pick it up. But as far as, they haven't shown any surveillance video of her like grocery shopping or anything like that out in public. Did you want to talk about the steak and sex thing? Or did we kind of cover that yesterday?
Yeah, you talked about that yesterday.
Okay.
Plates and stuff.
Yeah, the plates.
I'm trying to think of what else they kind of really focused on today.
There was a lot of reports from data and DNA discussed with CBI agent Joseph Cahill, and it got a lot of people in the courtroom confused. Even the judge was confused and did more clarification of, you know, we wanted to talk about the objections, how the state handled the objections versus the defense. I felt like the defense wore their emotion on their sleeve more versus the state. I felt like the state was more calm and collected.
Yeah.
At times, we even saw Drew Nielsen tell
it looked like
Iris Eaton saying, like, it's okay, like, let's just move on from this. You know, when the objection
Well, you could tell Eaton was getting upset because Cahill didn't know any of the information that she was hoping he would.
Because he was on military leave from March until May.
Yeah, and she was getting frustrated.
And only read 19 of the 126 pages of the arrest affidavit.
Yeah, and so she was getting upset with that and didn't know how to approach it at that point then, because every time she would ask a question about something, he didn't know the answer, or he hadn't read a letter, or something like that. And I was at the fairgrounds because I didn't get into the courtroom today, but in there you can see the version from the front of the courtroom as opposed to sitting in the back of it. So I could see facial expressions, and I could see Nielsen and Eaton both getting very upset with how the, direct or whatever was happening with that witness. And yeah, at one point it looked like Nielsen was kind of telling Eaton to just kind of calm down because she was getting very
flustered.
Yeah, and it was very obvious.
People are asking some great questions. One person's asking, Suzanne had an online bank account. What was in it? That was not talked to. Found out that she
had just gotten an email from that account, and then they looked into it.
Mm-hmm. People are asking if there's a relationship between Barry and the judge. Have you heard this? No, I have not. I mean, yes, I've heard exactly if what the rumors are true. People are asking, why would you call someone to talk that wasn't 100% ready? I don't think Iris Eaton knew, or the defense knew, Cahill's,
she had no idea he'd only read 19 pages.
Yeah,
that was in the affidavit or anywhere.
And she was even asking the judge, well, why was that written like this in the affidavit? Like, that he was an author of the
He might have been
affidavit.
on certain things, or that was something she mentioned a lot too, was whenever they would find a DNA match or find something DNA related, he was put on some letter or form or whatever as the point of contact for it. But a lot of that was happening around the time that he was on his leave, so he didn't get really any of it until he got back, so he couldn't really do anything about it. And at that point, other, agents or whatever had taken over because he wasn't there. So I think she was just very unaware of the lack of knowledge that he really had.
People want to know, because I guess when it was buffering, we were talking about
they could hear it.
drugs and Suzanne. They had only mentioned one day where Suzanne had picked up a prescription at Walmart on May 6th, but that prescription date was never found in the home. It didn't match what was found in the home. And then also, Barry had claimed that she would buy drugs from, what was it, CBD
It was
Tim?
like CBD Tom or Tim or something like that. And he brought that up because he was saying that that person might be a suspect because she used to get her drugs from him. So that was somebody he told agents to kind of look into as a possibility.
But they never really looked into it, or that was never talked about, or in the courtroom. Yeah, Barry Morphew claimed that she was a druggie and alcoholic.
Yep.
What else? How much more time do we have until we gotta get off there? Sorry this has been so short and
a little bit of a mess.
The service is not great.
We probably have
Any more questions? Someone's asking if we thought that Barry Morphew knew about the spy pen. I don't think he knew about the spy pen.
It just looks like a regular pen, so unless
and it was
he
voice
had already
activated.
Unless he knew that was a thing prior.
And investigators found it in Suzanne's closet in the bra box.
Also, who keeps their bras in a box?
I don't know. Someone's asking if we can hold the judge to the 7-day release date or no. To the arrest affidavit, I guess is what you're trying to ask. So
Well,
that is going to be discussed on September 17th as well. And the district attorney, Linda Stanley, told us that it also has to be redacted, and so that's going to take some time as well.
Well, the one agent told you as well that it only makes sense, too, to not really release it until after the preliminary hearing.
Yeah.
So it would make sense to wait until that whole process is over and then decide.
Yeah, Deputy District Attorney Mark Herbert, yeah, I hope I said that right. It does, he said, yeah, it does make sense that he would wait for the affidavit. The ruling of the preliminary hearing is finished to release the affidavit.
And we kind of touched on it yesterday, but part of the reason, too, that they didn't set the date until September is because of the amount, like with COVID, every case got pushed back or rescheduled or something like that. So that's caused some issues as well as far as, you know, court hearings and whatnot, trying to find time to fit everybody in. And even the prosecutors were saying, you know, it was hard too, trying to find a time where all four of them could be there at the same time to be able to do it. So, and in such a small courtroom, that's another reason they didn't have a jury, was because the courtroom just didn't have enough room for it. So there were a lot of little details that changed certain things the way the court was run, I guess.
I also asked the district attorney and the deputy district attorneys about, was this ever taken to a grand jury? They said because of COVID that they couldn't have a grand jury because there has to be 75, a pool of 75, and no venue in Chaffee County had to, like, they had to also be 6 feet apart, and no venue could hold that amount of people. So then they, you know, after they finished their audit of the investigation, they presented their findings to the district attorney's office. The investigators did, and then obviously the district attorney's office presented their affidavit to the judge, Judge Patrick Murphy. Sorry, I'm tired. And he signed off on he saw that there was enough probable cause to arrest him then. Trying to think of anything. I know there was we went over a lot. If you are just now joining this live, we went over a lot prior to. So once this is posted, you can go back and watch the beginning. There might have been some hiccups because we were driving in and out of service. If you missed my report tonight at 9 o'clock on Fox 21 News, I had interviews with District Attorney Linda Stanley, as well as all of the deputy district attorneys. So you can go on our website and watch that if you have missed that report.
Also today, the hearing started a little bit later than usual and also ended a lot earlier. Mm-hmm. So there wasn't a whole lot of new information that was presented, and even towards the end, they kept bringing up old things and then constantly objecting, and then the judge even at one point said that, you know, he's heard all of this before and everybody just keeps objecting, and there's no, like, he's heard a lot of the stuff that they just keep bringing up, and it's almost like they're just grasping at things to kind of, you know.
He said at one point, like, after every third question, someone would object, yeah. And they just weren't getting anywhere.
Yeah.
He said, again, this is a hearing, not a trial, yeah. So let's continue on. He said he let a lot of things slide because it was a preliminary hearing versus a trial. So, what else? What else do you guys want to know about these last 4 days or just today?
What's on your mind?
What's on your mind?
Share with us.
We only have, what, 10 more minutes left?
Maybe, yeah.
Maybe.
Probably closer to 5.
I did bring up the fact to the district attorneys, like the deputy district attorneys as well, about how, like, before this preliminary hearing, there was a lot of motions filed by the defense about how they were having difficulty opening discoveries and things like that. And, you know, Deputy District Attorney Jeff Lindsay said, we are doing everything that we can to make sure that everything that has been turned over is also then turned over to the defense. He said that they made multiple trips to, their offices or Denver, because that's where Drew Nelson and Iris Eaton are located.
When we did our interview with them, which you'll see some of this in the story that Lauren did tonight, one of the things that Lauren asked was about, a no-body case where there's no body that's found, but there have been other cases in the past where, people have won those based off of other evidence that they've found. And so she asked District Attorney Stanley, and she said that is 100% a possibility, that they think that they could still win this without a body. And I thought that was really interesting, as well as the fact that at no point in this entire investigation was Barry ever cleared from being a suspect. And he told investigators he figured he'd be cleared after the first 2 months.
And Linda Stanley said that there were, other suspects, and they looked at those suspects, and they were cleared. But Barry Morphew was one suspect that was not cleared. Obviously, since he is...
Here we are.
Yeah. Any questions? We're about 2 minutes out.
We can probably take 2 more.
2 questions.
Make them good. Yes, the McFlurries were delicious.
People are asking our opinion about if it's going to go to trial. And it's like, we don't make that decision. It's the judge's decision. I just report on what's going on in the courtroom. I give as much information as I can, as quickly as I can, live. I hope people followed my tweets. I hope they were helpful. I hope people watched my reports on Fox 21 News. If you haven't, please go to Fox 21 News.
All of them are up there from each day, so that way you can see a full recap of each day.
People are asking if we think there's going to be a plea bargain. I don't think so. This is too early.
There's always a possibility, but I couldn't tell you just from what I've seen if that's even something they've considered.
Oh my gosh, all the... how do you feel the prosecution did presenting them? How do I feel about the prosecution? How they presented their case? I don't want to say. It's just my opinion. I'd rather just give the information out. Someone's asking if Tyson's Draper video was shown. No, his video was not shown. One more question, guys. We're about to turn into the station. Sorry, I'm trying to read them. They're just coming so fast. So someone's asking, what will the judge look at to make his decision? Well, he said that he took 25 pages of notes. Obviously, he has all the exhibits as well as the recordings of the court proceedings and the affidavit. So he has a lot of references to look at, reports to look at, to reference. So
that was the main reason he didn't make a ruling today, which he made very clear that he wants to make sure that he's making the correct decision, and that if people were to question him afterwards, like, he feels solid in what he did.
Yes.
And he didn't feel like with the amount of information that he was given that he would be able to make a thorough decision today.
Yeah. I mean, but
which is what the sides wanted.
But both sides wanted a decision today. But when I talked to the state, they understood that, it was a lot of information, and that they're glad that he's going to take the time that he needs. Okay. Sorry that the beginning of this live was a little rough because of service, but if you missed what we talked about earlier, please go back. There was so much in these last 4 days, or not 4 days, but last
4 total.
4 total preliminary days. please go back, look at our videos on YouTube, as well as look at Fox 21 News. We have a ton of stories that we put together. Yeah. Anyways, thank you so much for all your work today, yesterday, the 2 days before.
She does it all.
No.
I don't know how she does it.
She keeps my stress level at a good number, I guess I should say.
Good point.
Yeah. But I appreciate you guys following along, and someone says Fox 21 on YouTube is empty. Yeah, I don't think we use Fox 21.
We don't really use our YouTube now.
I'm talking about my YouTube page. Look at videos, my previous interviews with like Barry Morphew or Jeff Puckett or Morgan Gentile, people that were talked about in this preliminary hearing. I have done interviews with. So look back at those, and look back at Fox 21 News. I did a story tonight interviewing the state about their reaction to what happened in these 4 days of the preliminary hearing. So they gave a little insight into their investigation, or into the nearly 1 year investigation, and they said that they're continuing to investigate. Do I think that there's still more evidence? Absolutely. That wasn't presented in these 4 days.
They never talked about how they went from a missing person to, saying she was dead and that it was Barry who did it. So I think that was withheld during the hearing, but I'm sure if it goes to trial, they would have to talk about that. So there's definitely
still closing argument, or not closing arguments. There's still arguments to be said from both sides that we're going to hear on September 17th. So stay tuned, guys. Thank you so much for watching us. We are going to get all our stuff into the station and
we're going to bed.
All right, bye guys. Thank you.